Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. I'm going to screen share because that's where. So I'm doing a talk on the art of collaboration, and today I'll try to cover as much as I can in this short time, and then hopefully I can get you to collaborate when my talk is done. So as you already know, writing is generally solitary, but it doesn't have to be. In this lecture, we'll discuss the nature of collaboration, and the art of co-writing, participating, how to start and sustain one through my own empirical experience with collaborating with others. And hopefully you can use my experiences to initiate or start your own or invent a new way of collaborating. So I have collaborated with over 100 people, and some of them are small, but the ones I'm going to be talking today are the big ones, the big projects that I've done with my peers, friends, and partner. I've co-written on this document. There's more. Just for a time constraint, we'll just focus on the 7 collaborations I've done with others. I've done Human Tetris with Ali Ras, my best friend. That Woman Could Be You with my partner, Alexander. There's a book that we co-wrote together. And this is the Human Tetris, the one that I co-wrote with Ali Ras. I've written a novella with Dai Shen, and I've written a poetry, extensive poetry collection that is going to be in more than 1 book. It's called Second Eden with Sarah Burgoyne. I've written a collection of short stories, Light Bulb with Miriam Hansen, and Queen of Corn is a play that I wrote with the historian and musician Darian Bombs. And I've written a nonfiction genre-bending manuscript, Love in the Age of Quarantine with Priya Cameron. And I'll walk you through the process in which how some of these or all these projects manifested. I'll start with my manuscript with my best friend Ali Ras. We co-wrote this together in December 2018. And it's my best friend wanted me to write a lot of personals, and I didn't want to, but I knew that our friendship meant a great deal to me. So I was trying to convert an assignment that she gave me back so that we can turn it into a manuscript. So I asked Ali Ras if she would write 1 personal with me every day for 30 days. So our deadline was by midnight in our time zone. So she was living in the East Coast, in the West Coast, and I was living in the Midwest, in Iowa City, actually. And we every day wrote 1. She never failed to show up. So for 30 days, we wrote 30 each, which made 60. So this poetry collection has 60. Ali Ras has a book that is coming out, Press 1111. And so Alien is one of the most beautiful manuscripts I've read. So if you ever need sci-fi, really good sci-fi, it's coming out this August. So with probably in a month or so. That's what my collaboration with Ali Ras was able to generate. Our project was accepted by Press 1111 just a few months after we wrote it. We wrote it in 2018, finishing it at December 31st. In January, I submitted out and it was accepted in February. And we decided that 69 was a really good, so we had a publication date of September 6th, 2019, because it was dealing with a lot of sexiness and relationship and online dating. So the collaboration we did was a cross between the genre of newspaper personals and the self-display of online dating. Human Treasures comprises a series of calls for lovers, whimsical, serious, mournful, thirsty, trite, and true. Written as a collaboration between two very different voices, with each entry addressed not to, but through the other. Human Trust is an obviously personal project that seeks not so much connection as an understanding of the shape of desire. And so Ali Rat and I sat down together to write a synopsis for this piece, and then we submitted to various places. The press also submitted to reviews, and we were interviewed for that project. I'll show you what the manuscript looks like, what the editing process was like. Ari Ras and I have very different approaches to editing. I believe in leaving things alone. And in many ways, Human Trust is kind of, the whole project kind of fits my aesthetic. This is the manuscript that we did. I didn't really want this cover because it was my artwork. But Ali Ras kind of like wanted to have that Polaroid shape. And so, and convinced me into it. So eventually we took my artwork and turned it into the cover for Human Treasures. And it was designed like a game that we could play together, back and forth, like a chess move, So Alarias and I and Press 1111 was very, very supportive about us shifting designing it however we liked. So with my design background, I designed this manuscript to shape, to have the shape, which is content is not consent. And so, and then there was a lot of titles that we used. We based those titles on the personals that we wrote. And so you kind of have a sense, we did about 60 of these. So you should see about 60, 70 entries actually. No, it's 70, it's actually 60, but it started out with page 11. So it doesn't look like it's 70 entries, it's actually 60. And you can see the different types of titles that we use were based on the personals. Ken looking for Be My Beehive, Be My Boner, and Clyde. And so we had a lot of fun with writing this project, and it only took us a month to produce a full-length poetry manuscript together. The workload has been cut in half for us because, if you write a poetry collection, it will take you 60 pages or more to fulfill one. And if you do another, the workload is cut in half and you have a lot of fun. And so I redesigned it to have this shape with the title in front, and it like these Tetris that is falling tiles, because we were having so much fun with and so that was our collaborative projects. And when it's finished, it came out to the world with so much ease and excitement. And so and that was done before COVID. The second project that trying to find the right. I'll move on to the next one. And that one is a collaboration that I did with my partner. That Woman Could Be You. We had written this together in 2021, which is last year. It took us 3 months to write. It was during a very heavy time in our writing life because we were both instructors. We were teaching. She was a director, co-directing and teaching two very big fiction classes at the University of Louisiana, and I was teaching two courses at and University of Boulder, University of Colorado in Boulder. That Woman Could Be You is a project that whenever we started a project, whenever I start a project with anyone, I always set a deadline. It's just, if you say, oh, we'll finish this manuscript, it might not get done in 20 years. So you set a deadline and you try your best to achieve it. And I set a very difficult goal for both my partner and me. And so we had to have this manuscript done, ready to be edited in December of 2021. And so every day we contribute to the project. It's one of the more poetry experimental manuscript that I've written together. It's one that dive into nonfiction, and it was one of the few projects that incredibly exposing, because we talked about our personal relationships, what was going on in our life during that time, and so it's a very intense manuscript. We wrote over 300 pages together. So if you see the workload, it's only 150 between us. And we sat down to write the synopsis together in a Google Doc, and it took us like I think like 10 different try to get to capture what we wrote together. And I'll read that to you right now. And this manuscript is out with Blaze Fox, which we submitted in 2000 and January 2000, and in the same way that Human Trusses also come out so fast. We submitted in January 2022, which is this year, and February it was accepted by Blaze Fox. This is the manuscript. You can see the press was able to preserve our black and red titles, and some of some of them were in orange as well. You just flip through the manuscript. That Woman Could Be You is an Orphic documentary of the Caesarean, an archive of queer and quotidian rituals, an observant meditation on the ephemerality and defiance of chronic pain, desire, and grief as they manifest in daily acts. This intrinsically sapphic and feminist project does not chronicle an excursion so much as the stillness of interiority. Alexander fluctuates between belief and disbelief at the news of her brother's death, and now manages the fatigue and breathlessness of heart surgery. Meanwhile, the interstates carried him from Louisiana to Texas to Colorado, to work and away from it. That Woman Could Be You lends a euphoric, nostalgic, and dreamlike beauty to the everydayness of Diurnal Tess. It's about moving through the world together as women. In Nao's case, a woman meets woman, and the newness of their love and life together. And so, and we wrote all this in a Google Doc. I was having such a busy schedule. I was teaching, I was collaborating with 3 other writers at the same time. I was also writing a poetry collection and a fiction collection, and I was teaching full time, and I was coping with a lot of pain. And so, but we wrote it, and sometimes I had a bus ride from Denver into Colorado. That bus ride is about an hour and 10 minutes, give or take, plus taking the train. So I wrote on my phone, on this phone, and just type one word at a time or one letter at a time onto my phone. And so in the mornings that I was so busy with teaching and reading students' work, I knew by the time I returned home from work, I would be too tired and too exhausted to write. So I did it early in the morning at 5 or 6 in the morning when I took the train and the bus to Colorado. We were living in Denver, which was like about, and we drove in, it would be 45-minute drive, but taking the bus and the train took me an hour and a half to 2 hours. So those travel time was very convenient. So if you are one of those people who take the bus, I think collaborating with another on the train, on the bus, or any of the public transportation, or if you carpool with anyone, this is a good writing time. I always find that like the best time to write is when my mind is really fresh and I'm ready to dive into the world. And that project with my partner, with Jess, worked out significantly well for us. We were able, oftentimes they say teachers, instructors don't write during the time they teach, because the part of the brain that allows them to create is also the part of that brain that allows them to teach, because teaching is a very creative endeavor. You have to find innovative ways to resolve conflicts in the classroom, and create new prompts for students. The grading aspect of it is also very creative. You have to find ways, solutions to help your students, like solve, if they are writing a short story, how to make it better. So all these creative energy often get embodied in the teaching experience. And so I had to find a way for us to also be teachers and also writers at the same time. And collaborating with my partner was a way for us to do that. We carved out certain time for us, and our writing project was that time that when we are apart, we could write, and when we were together, we could write. It was and we prioritize that. I make sure that my partner prioritized our time together to create this this manuscript together. And she did. She showed up and wrote when I asked her to. Sometimes it's like 10 in the morning, and sometimes she had a long, busy teaching day, where she just nearly lost her voice just teaching to on Zoom. And I said, could you make time, just half an hour, to add to our document? And she does. As a result of those commitment and those time that we made for each other, this manuscript came out in the world. And it's probably one of my favorite manuscripts due to the nature of its experimentation. It moves very fluidly, and it's nonfiction. It talks so candidly about everything, and I just really love how the manuscript moves. And so make time in your teaching. If you entering the field of writing, you're going to be instructors one day, or if you already are, you should make time to write. They said, you don't have to wait until you get a great grant to do so, or residencies, which are very far and few in between. They're hard to get. A lot of your energy goes into writing the grant instead of the work itself. And so the best time is just to make time for it. At the same time that I was writing this manuscript, I was also co-writing a novella with my friend, Daike Shen. We were writing this novella. It was just incredibly, it was at the time where I also wrote this manuscript, That Woman Could Be You. So when Daike asked, we had talked about collaborating, and it's hard when you are teaching, you're doing all this, and then an opportunity opened itself, such as, Daike wanted us to watch this movie and turn it into get that influence and write together a manuscript. And at that time, I was a little hesitant, not because I don't have the desire, partly because my workload, I filled to the brim. But somehow I managed to carve out time to write a full-length manuscript with, a full-length novella with Daike. I'm trying to remember how we are able to manage that. And so we wrote, and Daike sat down to describe the synopsis of our project together. I was wondering if there's a volunteer who, since I've been reading this, it will be helpful. Maybe someone can read this for me. This collaboration that I have with Daike.
I can read it.
Thank you so much, Lydia May.
Funeral is a chapbook co-authored by Khi Nao and Daisuke Shen, written in the form of prose, images, alphabetical lists, diagrams, songs, and miniature plays. The story follows the character Eddie from the 1989 film Funeral Parade of Roses in her descent to hell, where she meets and falls in love with I don't want to say it wrong. Jin, also known as Madame Rose, during lunch one day. Together, they begin to work through the shame and trauma of their past lives, spending their days creating Hell's first boba shop and cheering on Hell's ping pong team in their final match against Heaven. But their relationship soon falls apart when Jing returns home to Shanghai via Hell's bullet train. Eddie sets out on a journey to win her back, accompanied by her friends Tony Leung, the god Tu Shen, the Moon, Mary Poppins, and her over-talkative Uber driver, Jimin Park. Funeral is an exploration of morality, pain, queerness, and Asian American identities, written with irreverent humor and unflinching honesty.
Thank you so much, Lydia May, for reading that for us. I'm going to show you what the manuscript looked like so that you get some sense of our project. And so this is our full length that is coming out of Plunk. It's a very exciting press. I don't know if you are familiar with Plunk, but I love the book covers they do, and they make excellent. And I find the publisher writing also amazing. So sometimes these connections came into the world. And so this is our manuscript, and you can see we have made marks on it. It has drawings. It has pictures I've taken of gifts that they have given. It alternate between different. It has images. It has photograph that I took during the the lunar calendar, the lunar festival, and then we also included moons, phrases of the moon, what it was like to describe the characters as they experienced these lunar moments. And the manuscript just keep on navigating in very interesting ways. And it has like different images, and then even the fortune cookies that we we included into our collaborative projects. And so, you think, like oftentimes writers said, I have to put things in context, but sometimes it can be taken out of context in very exciting ways. And when we were done, Daike and I just, sorry, my computer is overheating. Trying to move this out the way. Okay. And after 3 months, we've together, and we hardly do any edits to it. And now a book cover, I will show you what the book cover looked like, but the designer is designing the book cover for our funeral. It's coming out in January 2024, which is in 6 months. And so I'm very excited for this manuscript. I wish I could pull it up to show you like the beauty of it, the experience, the friendships, oftentimes people say you have to collaborate with people that that are in the profession, and they you can't do it with friends, because sometimes you get into fights and then never finish the manuscript. But I find that I've worked well with my best friend, I work well with my partner, and I work well with Daike Shen. They are amazing. And they talk about the transition, like in the manuscript itself. So they in many ways educate me on what is it like to be a trans, and what the thought process about it. I remember writing a character, and I thought about, the character is trans, but I made a mistake including, I don't know, the menstrual cycle for this trans character. And this trans character can't experience menstruations. And so, and Daikei was very gentle with me, sort of like explained to me what it's like to be trans and what's it like to, think about the human body, the uterus, the non-existence of the uterus, and all of these. And it gets informed in the manuscript when we co-wrote trans characters and their grief and their sorrow and their happiness, if there's any to exist in their current manuscripts. And so in many ways, I feel like I become a student, not just of the manuscript itself, but of the current social issues and conditions that our contemporaries experience, our peers and our friends. As one of the most cherished friendship I have is with Daikei, who happened to be Asian, because I oftentimes to collaborate with people that because I grew up in Iowa and Vietnam, and predominantly 20 years in Iowa, my exposure to non-white is very few and far between. So this is one of the few that I cherished, and especially during COVID, when there was a lot of backlash and bigotry against Asian Americans, Asians in general. And so Daikei made me feel like we had camaraderie and support and love, and we were able to write characters that had that could speak to our own needs. Often the characters that are born from my work are I either have fully white, or I guess that's all that I've been exposed to, or experimental in a very white way. And Daikei, my collaboration with Daikei reminds me that these Asian pasts and backgrounds are just as important. And so they made me feel very at home in my work, and that's what friends are for. And writing a manuscript is a way to talk about these current issues with another person and feeling that getting that support needed. Daikei gave me that. And so I'm very, very excited for this manuscript to come out in the world. I want to transition into a gigantic poetry manuscript that I've written. I am still writing. We started in March of 2020, 2021. So we're still working on it. A year and a half later, we're still working on this manuscript. It's called The Citizen Eden. We're trying to rewrite the Bible from postmodern, futuristic, I guess. If someone can read this for me, that would be great. The synopsis of our manuscript that I'm writing with Sarah Bogoni.
I'll read it.
Oh.
Go, Jess, go ahead. You can do it.
Okay. Synopsis. Oh, you might hear my cat in the background. Using the numerical structure of pi 3.1415, Second Eden, late winter entry into glacial, is a collaborative epic poetry manuscript that follows the omniscient, voluble conversations and complaints of ad hoc biblical characters as they attempt to make sense of themselves on an ordered, disordered planet. Like books of the Bible, Second Eden comprises 4 books of 250 pages, each book corresponding to 1,000 digits of pi and divided into chapters. We are presenting the first two parts here, Love Song of Darkness and Light and God Pubescent, as well as the beginning of the third part, Cana's Complaint. We are looking to publish the first manuscript of reasonable page length with Arsenal Press. Anachronistic in proportion, this collection attempts to queer and rewrite these myths in precise restrictive numerical pi chronology, apparently till infinity, yet its verses remain free and ludic, time traveling at will and often looping in present-day figures. Elon Musk, Lady Gaga, Kai Guan Chang, Phoebe, Philo, Virgil Abloh, Donald Trump, and concerns. Feministic, irreverent, and supremely loquacious, Second Eden presents infinity as something reachable, yet unrelated to linear time, as something to be found in a repetitious soup recipe or in Khi Nao, a trans woman, Kana's spurred vegetarian sacrifice, in arguments that circle agents who love Bitcoin and in festering unholy marital resentments between Satan and her ex-lover God. Second Eden holds beauty and disaster, holiness and irreverence, sacrificial vegetables, and the soul's value in cryptocurrency in a teetering, barely consecrated worldly balance.
Thank you so much, Jess, for, is it Jess?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for reading that. Anyway, the manuscript is ambitious. The first part is going to be published not with Arsenal Press, but with Anvil Press in 2024. So, and so we've written about 300 pages. So we have about 700 pages to go, give or take. And so I'll show you what the manuscript looked like. The first 50 pages of it is shown here in the Google Doc. This is the first 50 pages of Second Eden with the synopsis. When we write, we co-wrote this together, co-wrote the synopsis together, just like line by line. We just help each other edit our work. And this is the manuscript in pi, so 3.1415, and it goes down to infinity, to 50 something pages. And so during COVID, what Sarah and I did was we meet up for 1 hour to 3 hours a day, give or take, and we would write into this manuscript, alternating lines. So Sarah would write this, and then I'll write this part, and we'll just alternate in real time. And then after 3 hours, if we had time during the summer, we'll do a 3-hour collaboration together, and we'll just meet on a Google Doc. And we'll write until we run out of time. And so the Second Eden is a very ambitious project, and it's great to do with another person. We're still doing it. Projects can be ongoing. I like forever projects because you feel like at some point it's going to not end. And so, yep, these are example. The other one, the one beauty with working with Sarah is that Sarah is a poet, and so poetry structure. They're also she's also doing a PhD program in geography at the same time. So it's very fascinating to have like her interest, all these geographical connotations and discipline, and that scholarly work make their way into the manuscript. And so you can see like versions of experimentation. I'm really excited for this to come out in the world because it will be really fun to read this manuscript out loud with the wild way in which we enter the world. And so normally I have a deadline for a collaboration with anyone. And this time, I said to Sarah that once we get 1,000 page, we'll end. So we're still working through. If you do a page number, it does take a really long time. Time is it's actually a better measurement, a measure gauging tools for finishing projects. But if you do pages, they're really hard to finish, especially if you are writing 1,000 pages. Now another project that I've done was, and this is at the same time I'm writing all these manuscripts. So I finished this manuscript with Miriam during COVID. We started in COVID when I was playing Scrabble about 16 hours a day, and I need to convert that energy into something. Like if you play Scrabble, no one's going to know except how high your score point is, and your ratings are. But that's not going to convert into a manuscript. So I had to figure out a way to convert my time into a positive energy. And the best way to do so was to co-write a fiction manuscript with Miriam in Norwegian. So I learned a new language during COVID. I learned how to write in Norwegian. I learned new vocabulary and yes, maybe I can figure out a way for you to see the manuscript that I wrote in Norwegian. Let's see. So one of these, I had a feeling it wasn't going to populate, so I opened it. And hopefully it will be in one of these. Is this it? Yep, here it is. So here's one of the short stories that we wrote together. It's complete. It's over 200 pages and it's in bilingual edition. So I wrote one line right here, and she wrote, Miriam wrote the next line right here, and we just alternate in Norwegian. It was really hard because Miriam would at times have to wait for me to, write my line because, Norwegian isn't like my primary language. And so it took me longer to produce, but she was very patient. It didn't take her very long. And every day we meet and we would write this story called Light Bulb together in Norwegian. And now I have a full length in which we are now editing it. Miriam is editing in Norwegian. I'm editing in English version. And so we're almost done. We're about 75% edit done. When it's done, I'm going to submit it to a press. But I hope when it comes out in the world, you pick this up because it is really, really, really sexy. And it was Miriam has 4 children, so you have to realize that she had 4 kids and a husband, and 2 of them are autistic, and so she has a lot of she doesn't have a lot of time, and the only time that we could collaborate together was 11 p.m. her time. So 1 hour before going to bed, Miriam and I would meet up for an hour every single day during COVID. And we're still meeting for editing to co-write this manuscript together. So people that said, I have 4 kids, 10 husbands, I don't have time to write a manuscript. You do. And I had to write this in another language, which isn't even English. So I learned a new language. I learned how to write in Norwegian. And then I co-wrote with, Miriam English isn't as strong as her Norwegian. So I had to learn a language in which we could use the literary skills that I possess in the English version. And I thought, like when we were collaborating together in English, it was such a struggle because Miriam literary English is but like a 5-year-old, she's very fluent, but there's very limited vocabulary that she couldn't use. And so I said, don't worry, I'll learn Norwegian. And so, and we dived into writing. We wrote a poetry collection together, and we wrote this short story collection together of 200 pages. And when we finish with this editing, we're going to edit the poetry collection, which is really fun too, and really sexy. So both manuscripts are sexy. Anyway, I'm going to speed this up one more because I want to have time for you to collaborate. I want you to write a short story together, everyone together, and I only give you 10 minutes to do it. So you better chop in a bit. So I'm going to get down to, probably won't make through but I'll tell you about the collaboration I did with Queen of Porn with Darian Brahms, who is a historian and a musician. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see, so many pages opening up. I had a feeling, I worried that it wasn't going to populate. Sometimes the internet goes out. Anyway, this is the person that I did a play with. So we wrote a play together. And so you do Queen of Porn. We chose the title of her YouTube videos called Queen of Porn, or the music that she. So we did this.
She used to dress up like a queen of pawn and holler to the bar and stick out like a quarter and a penny jar. Now she's a stranded high heel thrown from the window of a car. Who won't go and lie?
Anyway, you get the sense. So we used that title of one of the Queen of Porn, and I'll show you what that manuscript looks like. This was done before COVID, so we wrote a play together. We wrote this together. We wrote the character together, and then we had Act 1, and so you get to see what the manuscript looked like. Collaboration with Darian would have to. I'll just have to talk it at another time. We'll just end right now. I didn't realize it was going to take that long to talk about the projects, but there is a Google link that Jay has given, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes to write a short story about a murder with everyone at once into the Google Doc. So somebody has to start the story. Even if you can't start, you can finish the story. So someone who might want to write the middle, the first part. So go for it. I'll time us for 10 minutes, and we should be able to finish the story in 10 minutes. And then we'll meet back.
V, thank you, V. I've shared the Google Doc. If for some reason you can't get to it through the chat, it's in your email. Let's go. Right. So
dive in. Everyone write at once. If someone started the story, you might want to finish the story. And go for it. There's 30-second left. Try to finish your line. Great. So please stop. May I have a volunteer to read our story together? Now we co-wrote together.
I can read it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me find it. Death is not a banana. Wow, the crack of the gun jiggled the jelly on the end table. There's been a murder in Savannah. Not again, I thought. Such a mess. Blood on my toast, memories on the dashboard. The car slid along the guardrail and lacerated the left-hand doors of our Audi. Nevertheless, the blackberry ginger jam was delicious. Smeared. I had acquired the jelly on a previous trip to Maine with one of my lovers. On less violent days, we like to lick jelly off of each other's earlobes. He tastes best with apricot, juicy lobes, hemisphere, cerebral, Wernicke's area, temporal. How to Get Away with Murder is a metaphor for friendship. We made it to our apartment, me and whoever else was there. It was hard to tell, everyone speaking at once in loud sing-song voices. We are not a choir. This is not an ensemble. Butter went everywhere, sticky, slippery. Nothing seemed to be in its place anymore. He tried to shoot me with a banana, but I couldn't take it seriously. Can you even make banana jelly? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. But bananas cause trouble. Bananas are also high in potassium. I'll take what I can get. I thought he was a pacifist, but he was an asshole. Man, lordy, lordy. I reached for the salt. The salt reached for me. The salt and I began to discuss our respective relationships. Me with my lover and the salt with the pepper, and also the cumin and also the turmeric. Why couldn't we be more like Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper, have a little paprika of our own? I desire, more than anything, to be in a throuple with both onion and garlic powder. I know, I'm selfish. It's just wishful thinking. Eventually, I would just look for something sweeter, saltier. Another one bites the dust, I thought. Don, don, don. Then another one does, and another one does. Compression feels like that gritty grime sandpaper in my mouth, trying to make me a sandwich, you dirty motherfucker, I said, standing over the jelly, trying to collapse our dynamic range. The banana said, I shoot things other than bullets. BANANAS. I shoot pug puppies that injure with lots of pug kisses and love. Bananas never seem to know when to just be still. Banana said, if you're having any kind of stomach issues, come to me. I can help. I can also help, the banana said, if you're having muscle cramps. Have you ever felt your toe close in on you? Things other than bullets can still be deadly. And you can still love bullets at the same time. Because what is love but its own form of slow death? The broken vase interrupted the stillness of the room. Flowers scattered all over the brand new wool rug. Damn it. Sad, soaked petals of yellow. Water, a flood that filled my ears and eyes, drowning in this. A tree's roots wrapped around the screen door. A dog's bark at the propane tank. I've climbed ladders in the dark wood with a spotlight on my right shoulder, my pockets empty. The sunshine felt like puppy dogs lapping at my entrances. Don't slip, Kills said. The greatest risk when shot by a banana. Mashed bullet holes. Please turn on the dishwasher and clean this place up. Like, do it today, not next week. Your mother doesn't work here. That dishwasher had a missing wheel on the lower rack. I needed to yank yard to get that clattering of dishes to expose itself. Bowl to drink up the mess and rinse it in the sink before displacing it back into the wash. Maids should be paid more. I immediately wondered why and where she might be at this moment. What would she think of this? Where's the lobster? Missing. Another problem stacked among the many. Truly, death is not a banana. It's an apple. Weren't you glad I didn't say banana? I can't believe this shit. Potassium leads to constipation. Please just leave me the fuck alone, you slimy bastard. The blue flowers suck like juice. This shit is everywhere. And fiction writing is controversial. Everything is controversial these days. But murder is liberation. Only key to survive is kill. If the elements don't murder you, the writers will. Let's talk over tea instead. This banana shit is getting old. She slipped again and bumped her elbow on the elephant dish. That dish is very old, older than anyone in this room, I tell you. But yesterday, the jam you fresh and then butter unsalted was also. Pass the toast, please. Thanks. Don't put the cat in the dishwasher unless it's set to air dry. Okay, please don't. Nor the puppy. They don't like the dark, and the rinse agent gets messes with their fur. Only Jelly left behind. Jelly in the tears, Jelly in the exit wound. We have to leave this apartment right now. Please, baby, we gotta go. The train is waiting. I love the smell of exhaust, the way my skirt blows up. I know you think it's salacious, but I am forever in love with the way of the wind and silk. You know this, honey. You knew this when you chased after me the day of hibiscus bloom. The day overwhelmingly tropical, yes, I was a bitch. The heat gets to me in the best kind of way. The way my curls form around my earlobes, the sticky heat, your large hands. The monster in me already flopped over. The sun in the jelly was burning like the sea. I have an ancient cedar chest, smells like Grandpa Mary's pipe, in which to hide the body. It will stop moths from eating the leftover jam. It will also stop me from eating the leftover jam. A banana cannot help with this. Peel out. Mysteries.
Thank you so much. At any rate, great job on writing a short story together. It probably needs a little bit of edit, but that's what editing is about. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining me in this and participating in the collaboration. I hope you are able to dive in a collaboration of your own as well from my inspiration projects.
Let's give V a hand, y'all. Awesome. Thank you so much, V. Great class. Great class. For those of you at the 511 building, there's an artist talk at 10:15 in the gallery on the bottom floor, and otherwise workshop starts at 11.